On August 2nd to 16 BC, the Roman Republic came closer to extinction than ever before. In just one morning, over 50,000 Roman soldiers died, crushed not by overwhelming numbers, but by sheer genius. This is the story of the Battle of Cannae, told in 5 minutes. After crossing the Alps with his famous war elephants and a battered, exhausted army, Hannibal of Carthage shocked Rome again and again. He had already outsmarted them at the battles of Trebia and Lake Trasimene. But at Cannae, he wouldn't just win. He would deliver the single greatest tactical victory in ancient history. The stage was set for a showdown that would define an era. Here's how one brilliant general turned an entire empire into prey. To crush Hannibal once and for all, Rome assembled the largest army in its history. Nearly 80,000 infantry, packed tightly together in a massive, deep formation. Their plan was brutally simple: use overwhelming force to punch straight through the Carthaginian center and shatter Hannibal's army. But Hannibal anticipated this. He knew he couldn't match Rome's numbers head-on, so instead, he intentionally weakened his center, arranging his Spanish and Gallic troops in a crescent shape that bulged toward the Romans. As the legions charged, they met light resistance and pushed forward, feeling victorious. They believed they were winning. In reality, they were marching right into a perfectly laid killing cage. As the massive Roman formation pushed deeper and deeper, the Carthaginian crescent bent backward, exactly as Hannibal had planned. The Roman soldiers, feeling the enemy line give way, surged forward with confidence. At that precise moment, Hannibal gave the signal. His elite African infantry, who had been held in reserve on the flanks, pivoted inward and slammed into the exposed sides of the Roman legions. The Romans were now squeezed from 3 sides. Their advance halted. But the trap wasn't finished. On the wings, Hannibal's superior cavalry had already routed the Roman horsemen. Now, they wheeled around and charged into the Roman rear, completely sealing the insurrection. In military terms, this is called a double envelopment. In simple terms, Rome was surrounded, with no way out. Inside the trap, chaos erupted. The Roman soldiers were packed so tightly they could uneven swing their swords or effectively use their shields. They had become a helpless, panicked mob. Men began to suffocate under the pressure, trampled by their own comrades before an enemy blade could even reach them. The historian Polybius, who wrote about the battle just a few decades later, said the bodies piled so high they formed gruesome walls. The slaughter was relentless. Within just a few hours, the greatest army Rome had ever assembled simply ceased to exist. By the afternoon, over 50,000 Romans lay dead on the field. After such a catastrophic victory, Hannibal expected Rome to send envoys and negotiate a surrender. No other nation in the ancient world could have survived such a devastating loss. But Rome was different. In one of its finest hours, the Senate refused to even hear Hannibal's terms. Instead, they forbade public mourning, immediately began raising new armies from teenagers and even slaves, and completely reformed their strategy. They would never again face Hannibal in a massive pitched battle. Instead, they would harass him, cut off his supply lines, and slowly bleed his forces dry over the next decade. Cannae was a perfect military victory, a tactical masterpiece, but it wasn't a decisive one, because Rome, unlike any other power, did not know how to quit. The Battle of Cannae remains a legendary feat of tactics, studied in military academies to this day as the perfect example of battlefield envelopment. Yet perhaps its greatest lesson isn't about Hannibal's brilliant maneuvers, but about Rome's incredible resilience. It's a story of how a nation refused to collapse, even after losing everything. Historians still debate it, but if Hannibal had marched on the city of Rome immediately after Cannae, the world we know today might look very, very different. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like and subscribe for more history told like this.